Zimbabwe, always the overachiever, just not in the ways that actually benefit its people. In the latest Transparent International Corruption Perception Index, CPI, for 2024, Zimbabwe has proudly cemented its place as the most corrupt country in SADC, proving once again that when it comes to looting, backdoor deals, and siphoning public funds, nobody does it better. With a rock-bottom score of 21 out of 100, the country has sunk to its worst ranking since 2015. You know, that year, the year when US 15 billion in diamond revenue mysteriously vanished into the pockets of unspecified individual. Translation, the usual suspects in power. But why stop at regional dominance? Zimbabwe went all out, securing a VIP seat among the top 10 most corrupt countries in Africa. That's right. While other countries are struggling with minor things like economic stability, functional institutions, and basic service delivery, Zimbabwe is out here, speed running its way to the bottom with the efficiency of a well-oiled looting machine. The government may not be able to provide clean water, reliable electricity, or stable currency, but when it comes to corruption, they are running a world-class operation. The CPI ranks countries based on perceived level of public sector corruption, with 0 being utterly lawless and 100 meaning so clean you could eat off its policies. Zimbabwe's 21 out of 100 places it in an exclusive club of failed states and war-torn economies, right alongside Somalia, South Sudan, and Sudan. Who needs a civil war when you can just loot the country into the ground? For those keeping score at home, let's take a walk down memory lane, shall we? In 2015, Zimbabwe hit its previous all-time low, and in a surprising twist of fate, that was also the year when President Robert Mugabe casually admitted that $15 billion in diamond money had just poof, disappeared. Back then, we still had a leader who at least pretended to be confused when state funds vanished. Today, Mnangagwa's government doesn't even bother with fake outrage. They just steal in broad daylight and dare anyone to say something about it. Over the years, Zimbabwe has played a game of pretend with the CPI. After the 2015 disaster, it made a slight recovery to 22 out of 100, as if the corrupt elite momentarily forgot to steal. By 2019, 2020 and 2023, it somehow reached 24 out of 100, probably due to sheer luck rather than actual reforms. But here we are in 2024, and Zimbabwe has proudly returned to the gutter, proving that when it comes to robbing a nation blind, consistency is key. Meanwhile, let's talk about the countries Zimbabwe isn't competing with. Denmark, as usual, is sitting pretty at the top with a score of 90, while Finland and Singapore are fighting over second place with 88 and 84 respectively. These are countries where corruption is actually punished. Imagine that. Meanwhile, in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe's government treats corruption scandals like a CV boost. Steal millions, welcome to cabinet. Get caught, just relocate to Dubai and wait for things to blow over. And then there's Russia and China, Zimbabwe's BFFs in bad governance, also earning miserable corruption scores. But hey, what's a little embezzlement between allies? You have to admire how Mnangagwa's government always follows the worst possible examples on the global stage. If it's bad for transparency, democracy, or accountability, you can bet Zimbabwe's leadership is taking notes and implementing it immediately. Remember how they shouted when Trump indicated that he might want to put up a fight for a third term? Of course, every year, the government pretends to be shocked by these rankings. Officials will start making grand speeches about cracking down on corruption, leaving no stone unturned, and bringing culprits to book. right before giving more tenders to their friends and appointing their nephews as permanent secretaries. You know, the usual. The only thing that ever gets cracked down on is the internet whenever protests break out. At this point, we should just stop acting surprised. This is the same government where ministers accused of stealing millions are simply moved to new ministries like it's a game of musical chairs. This is the same country where whistleblowers who expose corruption get arrested instead of the thieves. And let's not forget, this is the same leadership that claimed there was no money for hospitals, but somehow found billions for luxury jets and mansions in South Africa. So what's next? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Mnangagwa and his cronies will keep doing what they do best, plundering state resources, rigging elections, arresting critics, and making empty speeches about Vision 2030. While the country crumbles, foreign investors will continue avoiding Zimbabwe like a disease. The cost of living will skyrocket, and the only thing the government will successfully build is another $1 billion scandal. For the people of Zimbabwe, the real question isn't when will corruption end, but rather how much worse can it possibly get. At this rate, give it another 5 years and Zimbabwe might just break a new record, a single-digit CPI score. But hey, at least we are making history. If nothing else, we can proudly tell our grandchildren that we lived through a golden era of daylight robbery, where entire state budgets disappeared before they even reached the ministries. For more corruption exposés and the latest updates on how Zimbabwe is being auctioned off to the highest bidder, hit that subscribe button. Because, trust us, this show isn't ending anytime soon.
Himmi vechidiki musakangano ezano, himmi vana mai musakangano ezano, nemmi vatana dimi mayona, uipi wayo wese dimi makazviona, tikatarisa kugwanda kune makuva ezano, tikatarisa mkai kune mipitsi ezano, tarisa kucholocho masamba kangofanana, vana veZimbabwe vakaurawa nezano, zanu yaora tizirai kumakomo, zanu yaora rasirai kumadobo, zanu yaora yave chidembo, zanu yaora harmonie, nkomo akataura mucharumwane chokuchera, zvobo akataura zanu yapanduka, tekerendo kubuda auna zanu yaora, chvangira yakataura zanu yaora, mari yeZimbabwe nasi yave mapepa, kana chimonera ungatoputira, mumo yeZimbabwe yakatiza nyika, nokuda kwemuka izanu chiororo, zanu yaora tizirai kumakomo, zanu yaora rasirai kumodobo, zanu yaora yave chidembo, zanu yaora harmonie, vakati zanu ndero pataiti kutamba, zvimwe vanoreva rakadeuka kare, izvo vaireva ravachadeura, ropa reZimbabwe rise nemhaka, zanu yaora tizirai kumakomo, zanu yaora rasirai kumadobo, zanu yaora yave chidembo, zanu yaora harmonie, nkomo akataura mucharumwane chokuchera, zvobo akataura zanu yapanduka, tekerendo kubuda auna zanu yaora, chvangira yakataura zanu yaora, mari yeZimbabwe nyasi yave mapepa, kana chimonere ungatoputira, rinotatiza nyika nokuda kwemuka izanu chiororo zanu yao